Hey everyone, good morning, good morning, good morning. What's
Good
up,
morning.
Tasha?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Ooh, the weekend is coming.
I know. Look, I'm trying to recover from last weekend. It's already time for the next weekend.
I know. Two events this weekend. Whew,
Well, I
ready.
know I
See
got
my
an event.
balloon.
I got an event today at 3.
Mm.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that one.
Is it a school event?
Yeah, it's a school event,
Very nice.
so we'll see what happens with that one. But like I said, this way. How was your events this weekend?
Pretty good actually. I mainly did drop offs over the weekend, so that was kind of relaxing a little bit.
Okay.
Even though I'm busy, but just not as busy as I normally would be. And then this weekend coming, I have a 13th birthday party and a baby shower.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Well, I
excited
think
about that.
my event for this weekend, it look like it's going to be canceled. I haven't heard anything back from the customer, so I'm assuming that it's going to be canceled. So I'm not worried too much about that one. But this past weekend, ooh, that's a beautiful wedding. It was a beautiful
Good.
wedding. But I'm gonna say they put me to work. They that hill. I'm having nightmares about walking up that hill. Ooh,
What hill?
it was a hill. From the ceremony to the reception hall, it was a long hill, so you had two choices. Either you had to go up the steep stairs, or you had to walk all the way around and go up the hill. Well,
Mm,
thank God the actual venue had a golf cart, little, I guess you could say, little dune buggy thingy, or golf cart.
mm-hmm.
Well, she came down and she saved me, because if I had to walk up anymore, I was gonna fall out. Um, so I was happy that she came around with. I ain't never been so happy to see a vehicle. I'm like, ooh, I'm like, I've been rescued. But it was a
I know
beautiful
that's
wedding.
right.
It was a very beautiful wedding day.
I'm
Uh,
glad to hear that.
so, but today we are going to discuss, and this is one of those big things that happens all of the time: assumptions and communication.
Mm,
Um, what the customer assumes, and then how they communicate that information. So we're going to talk in detail about that, because I mean, this is something that we could talk about every single day, and we're still going to have issues with it. But it's good to
true.
highlight it and to talk about it in detail.
True.
Um, what would be your number one breakdown of communication with the client that you almost see every time?
Um, oof, there's so many. One thing is, like you just mentioned, giving a heads up if an event needs to change dates.
Right.
Like, why would you not let someone know? Okay, I can't speak from a DJ's perspective, but I'm gonna speak from a decorator's perspective and a planner's perspective. Um, you've booked the date 3, 6 months, whatever ahead of time, and then you don't communicate to us that, um, well, I'm gonna have to move the date to 2 or 3 months later, or I'm gonna need to cancel the date because in the meantime, we're prepping everything for your event, meaning your
Absolutely.
table linens, your centerpieces, whatever it is, we're prepping for it. Like we're not waiting until the day before to prep yourself. We're prepping like a few weeks ahead of time, up sometimes up to a month ahead of time. Um, so to me, that's I hate to say it like this, but that's rude to not even reach out and say, hey, this is what's going on. I'm gonna need to move this over here, like that kind of thing. It would make a lot of sense just to do that because there needs to be some type of consideration for your vendors. And I can't, like I said, I can't speak on a DJ's perspective or the photographers, but like a cake designer, I can't speak on that. But it is really messed up because what clients don't normally understand is that we're prepping long before that day. For you, it may be one day. For us, it's weeks in advance preparation.
For me, it's 2 weeks in advance. I start
Hmm.
prepping for that event, and most of the time, what happens, like this year has been my worst year when it comes to that portion of like communicating if they are going to cancel or reschedule their event.
Hmm.
This year, like I said, I start off this year right off the back with four
Yeah.
cancellations, and that's, I mean, normally I only have two cancellations per, I mean, at the most a year, but this year I start up with four, and then this one will be the fifth cancellation.
Mm.
Um, so it's kind of like, and the thing is, I don't even know if it's canceled or not because no one's communicated to me about it. So that's the part that that I mean, to me, it's a sign of disrespect. You have no
Mm-hmm.
respect for my work or my time. So that bothers me when a person can't take the time to pick up the phone call or to send a email to let you know that, hey, I canceled the event, or hey, I'm not going to do the event. That's, like I said, that's a loss for us. That's a loss of
Mm-hmm.
money, especially if we're basing everything on a monthly, like a monthly basis. That's a major hit. And when people do that, they the thing is, like, me personally, it puts such a bad taste in my mouth to where I don't want to do business with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one of those things to where your word means nothing to me anymore, because if you can't take time to communicate and to talk, and I think that's what it is. It's just a sign of respect,
I
to
got you.
communicate, because then it also lets me know that your event's not important.
Yeah. But
That really
mind
just
you,
know it's not that important.
it was important enough for you to reach out to us, book our services. We're prepping because we're like, okay, put it this way: if the roles were reversed and your event was coming up, and then your event day happened, and none of us showed up, we'd be unprofessional. Correct?
Absolutely,
All
absolutely.
right. So, and we didn't communicate with you and say, hey, by the way, I have a sick relative. I got to be out of town, or I broke my leg, or whatever, and didn't have a replacement person. But we didn't communicate anything with them, and we don't show up. Then we're awful. We're the worst. But clients do it to us all the time, and just expect us to just roll with the punches, which we do. But it is a sign of disrespect because there's no respect in what we do for a living, what we're doing for you as a client. And I don't, again, it doesn't start the day before your event. We start prepping ahead of time because
Right.
we have other events that are coming before you probably and coming after you. So we have to prep accordingly for each event. And I just don't understand why clients don't understand that. They don't get it. And that's confusing as hell. But, you know.
And I think that to me is like, I mean, right off the bat, that's just a sign of disrespect. It's a sign of that, okay, like, in the eyes of us, it's like we're looking at, okay, it must not be that important, because you didn't take time to properly coordinate this and so forth. So that's that. I mean, I will agree that is probably one of the biggest ones, is letting us know, to communicate that piece, to let us know that it's been canceled or
Mm-hmm.
rescheduled. That this year has been the worst year for me for that. So I'm like,
Mm,
but I mean,
I've
but
only
not,
had two so far. But actually, well, one canceled and one moved their dates. So that wasn't too bad. But we're still just in March. So who knows?
right. So that's why it's like, it's one of those things that I just got to the point where I'm like, yeah, I can't take nobody's word anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If it ain't in black and white and don't have the deposit, then I'm just gonna keep it moving. I
I mean,
can't, like I
because
said, get,
people,
I'm like, five times in one year. That's a high number for me. That's a real high
mm-hmm.
number for me.
And people don't
So
understand. Okay, when we're talking to you as a client, or when we're our businesses, we get phone calls all the time from people inquiring about our services, inquiring about what things cost, inquiring about dates and all of that. And people want quotes or an estimate or something, you know what I'm saying, that tells them what we like. That's our time to put all
right,
that stuff together to send to them. And then not a single word is said after the fact. Like, really? Like, I didn't just spend all this time getting your stuff together. What are we doing? You know, so it's really, really upsetting. And don't get me wrong, I know that companies, like, for instance, I have an electrician coming to my mom's house to give us an estimate on putting new lights around her house. um I know that it's that person's time. Good morning, Vanessa. um
good
it's that
morning,
person's
Vanessa.
time, it's their travel and all of that. So I understand if there's a fee that goes with that, because sometimes there's a service fee just for them to come out and look. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So as
Hmm.
vendors, should we start, and this is gonna be off the track, but this is gonna be something for another conversation, I guess. But as vendors, we don't even charge half the time for our initial time. But our time is valuable.
Right. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And I think that's it. Again, it goes back to the number one, that people don't really understand the concept, nor do they understand the what goes on behind the scenes for the preparation.
True, very true. Let's
So
just see.
so it's
What's
kind
got
of
you distracted
crazy.
over there?
No, it's just something popped up on my screen. I'm trying to figure out what that was. Okay,
Oh, okay.
but that's one of the things that people have to understand, that you it's like our time. I mean, there's a lot that goes on, and a lot of people just again they make that assumption. Oh, it don't take but a second to prepare a tablecloth, or it don't take but a second to put something together. They don't take it as they don't understand the concept or what really goes on behind the scenes.
It can look like, just to give an example, that tablecloth that's on that round table where you and seven other people are sitting. It If we're doing it in house, that's a 45-minute, 30 to 45 minute job just to press one.
Right,
And the dry cleaners these days, honey, just like the food costs have gone up, our inventory costs have gone up, our supplies costs have gone up. That has gone up too. Now they're charging us $10 per tablecloth. So when we
right,
charge you 16, $18 for a tablecloth, most of that is going to get daggone thing prepped.
yeah, absolutely. And that's what you see. I like say my lesson learned. I actually got like I said, I went behind. I actually went and did a table just to see what it feels like, and I was just blown away. I mean, I honestly, I was blown away. Like I said, I never want to touch another tablecloth after just doing one tablecloth. So I had a lot more respect for a decorator when it comes to doing their tables, because oh we, I mean I mean,
It's
I caught
time
hell trying to
consuming.
iron one tablecloth.
Mm-hmm. It's very time consuming. And if you got 35, 20 tables, 35 tables, or 10 tables, it's still time.
Right. And I think that's what people have to understand, is that there's a lot of time prepping, and we do more doing more prepping than we do anything else.
Pretty
Because the
much.
day execution, I mean, we done so. If we did all the proper preparation,
Hmm.
it's less work during the day of, but it's a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
is.
work just to get ready for it.
It is.
Yep, Vanessa, they said it right. It's a lot of work.
It
So I think
is.
that's one of those things that people have to understand, that um time management is crucial, but like I say, communication is another thing that causes time management to be easy or to be extreme. And
True.
that's
Very
where you
true.
go from easy to extreme quickly just because of miscommunication. One of the other big things, um, and one of the other big things is what like how a customer, how an actual customer looks at a contract and comprehend what's in that contract. If you have
Okay.
a contract for a venue, it's like they really understand those concepts of what
Yeah,
is.
that's what I was going to say. Are they actually reading the contracts and
And I think
asking those questions?
that's what it is that they hear certain things. They have selective hearing. They hear
That's
certain
true.
things, and then they don't put it all together until it's too late. So, for example, like I said, like the biggest misconception, or I should say assumptions, that a lot of people make is when they say you gotta be out by midnight, or your time is up at midnight. A lot of customers will automatically assume they can party up until midnight, not taking into consideration that the vendors have to break down their equipment and get out of that venue before
Hmm.
midnight. And that's the biggest piece is, do you have to be done at midnight, or do you have to be out by midnight? And so a customer needs to understand that contract. And sometimes, I mean, now I'll say this: sometimes the venue mislead them in the wrong way,
Mm.
of that time,
I'm going to agree to that.
and that's something that they need to understand, is that okay, you say midnight, because like me, when I do my contract, the first question I ask, what time do you have to be out of the venue?
Hmm.
Well, they say we can go until 12 o'clock. Okay, so what does that mean? Does that mean that you have to be out by midnight, or that you have to stop and your guests have to be gone, but then the vendors have the time to break down?
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
that's clarification. So in my contract, I have to put out that I need an hour and 30 minutes for breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Because then if they know that they have to be out by midnight, then there and then sometimes the customer will play dumb. Oh, I didn't know that, and try to get over it. But what I do most of the time, if it's a venue that I'm very familiar with and I know their policy, I automatically know if on their contract, let's say it is midnight, which in most cases, most of the venues in Fayetteville, is you got to be out by midnight.
Yeah.
So I know right off the bat at 10:30, we need to everything needs to shut down at 10:30.
Here's another thing I think people don't think about. Okay. Um, I'm just gonna you jump in on any part of what I'm about to say.
Okay.
So you reserved a venue, and your venue time is 12 hours, right? Um, most of those people that are coming there have had to work on your stuff before they get there, like packing things. There's a few hours of their day that they're putting things together to get to to get to the venue, and then you also have the venue personnel that's there, that has to be there, opening up, making sure everything goes, and then they're there till the end. The thing about it is, for clients, let's say it's one day, but honestly, you have all these other people involved in your one day, and to
Hmm.
some degree, there should be some type of um, mutual respect given, or at least some empathy on the way that everybody has to do all this work, meaning set it all up, experience the event, and then break it all back down. And so when they say you got to be out by a certain time, be mindful of the vendors that you've hired that need to have time to get their belongings out. Because here's the thing, if you go past that, got to be out by 12 o'clock, right? And you go past that, there's a venue in Fayetteville that charges you $350 per hour
Hmm.
that you go over. So if you don't think about that, and you end your event at 11, and my contract says I need a 2-hour breakdown period, and that means we're not going to be out to 1 o'clock, be prepared to cut a check for the 350. You have to look at the whole concept. It can't just be about, oh, well, we're gonna party till, but you have to think about the other aspects of what you're doing.
Right.
Your cake designer, a lot of times they get to come in, drop off the cake, do a little bit of this and that, and then they leave.
Right.
Your photographer is usually leaving after they've done all the traditional photos and whatnot. They're usually gone after that. But your DJ's still there. Your decorating team has to break everything down. Your planner has to be there. Like, there's other aspects. Plus, the people at the venue are there as well. Because when they say they need to be out by midnight, they trying to go home too.
Right.
And there's like no regards for anybody's stuff. Anybody.
Mm-mm. And I think that's the biggest part about this whole situation is that they don't understand the process of what goes on. That's why when I take time out to give, I got that's why I make it mandatory to give a presentation to my customer, because after I give them, I educate them on the whole process, then it should be no misunderstandings. Which most of the time that fixes the problem. But every now and then there's that one or two where they try to, like, either they forgot or they try to forget.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a process of making sure that it's clear understanding. It's just like I have it happen most of the time is that a client or customer will hire a photographer. This is a perfect example. Will hire a photographer for 4 hours and not understand that in 4 hours that might not be long enough to cover, especially for a wedding day. It might not be good. Now for a birthday party that might work,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's a family oriented event, 4 hours might work. But when you're doing a wedding, 4 hours is not enough time.
Not to cover the prep, not to cover you beforehand when you're getting
Right.
ready and he's getting ready, and getting video of the locations, or getting photos of the location, the setup before, because setups look different once people are in there.
Right.
So it's good to get pictures before people get in the room. Um, it's literally 6 to 8 hours is what you really would need for a photographer, and because it's about that dollar that they were pinching, that dollar we were talking about last week.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
they There is because of that. And here's my thing. I'm not trying to undermine anybody in this industry, but if you really have to, if you cannot sit down and say, okay, we can afford to spend X amount of dollars on this wedding, you should be prepared to spend X amount of dollars on this wedding. And you have to be realistic. Do your research. You can go to Google and say what's the average cost of weddings in North Carolina.
Say it one more time.
I said you can go to Google and say what's the average cost of weddings in North Carolina. I
Right.
mean,
Oh,
do
it'll
some
tell you.
research.
It'll tell you. It'll tell you.
Yeah, do some research so
Right.
before you say, "Hey, we're gonna walk down now. We're gonna have this big wedding." But you know what? It's okay to go to the Justice of the Peace too if you
Yeah.
can't do the big wedding, and maybe save up for the big wedding. You know, um, because if you're in a hurry, then I would say do that. But honestly, it's a matter of time management. It's a matter of communication. It's a matter of, and I'm gonna be real honest with you. It's a matter of what can you afford to do, and be realistic. Don't spend $5,000 on a venue and then think you're gonna spend $1,000 on decor or 1,500 on food. How realistic is that?
It's not, especially now with today's like everything going up. I mean, just like I
Mm-hmm.
said in a meeting, I said in a meeting, what was it on? I want to say it was on Tuesday. Yeah, it was on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And in that meeting, I learned quite a bit from what's going on now in the industry when it comes to food and everything. It's expensive. It's become
Very.
extremely expensive now. So it's not like and like you're gonna spend any like you're talking about for 50 to 100 people, you're gonna spend anywhere between $2,000 to $4,000 on food.
Mm-hmm.
So people need to understand that the assumption most of the time is it's not a big thing, but and then like I said, you can take corners again. You always can take corners, cut corners, and doing things, but you have to understand the stress that comes with that. Um,
For not just them, but also for that vendor.
right. Well, I mean, in some cases, what they're cutting corners, they're relying on family, which I always call it is it's a trap because families are not going to be sometimes they're not that dedicated to making sure
Mm-hmm.
things go according to the way it's supposed to be done. They're
True.
going to do it to their level of what they think versus what the level of the person.
Yeah, their level of capabilities.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
So the assumption, and that's what I say, the assumption, a lot of assumptions get a lot of people in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of them asking questions, they'll make assumptions of what they want their day to be.
Basically,
Regardless
no
of
communication.
right. Is they just go out and they got this thing in their head that, oh, we can go out and do this and so forth. I'm like, okay, no. And just like I had a customer, um, they thought just because their event was short in time, they thought it was going to cost them cheaper. It didn't. It's like, and I have to explain. I say, no matter what, I still have to set up the same equipment. To
Mm-hmm.
me, it's not the DJing part that's costing you money. It's the setup and breakdown that's really
Pretty
costing you
much.
money. So the assumption is they think, oh, if my event is shorter, then it shouldn't cost that much. Well, if you and then again, and this again, assumption is in some cases, some vendors do work by the hour, but not every vendor is charged by the hour. I don't charge by the hour. I charge
Very
by the
true.
event. So that's something that people have to understand is that not everybody does things the same exact way.
True. And that would start with you reading your actual contracts.
Right, absolutely.
Read your contracts. Understand what's in them. If there's something in the contract that you don't understand, ask that vendor to explain it to you. That I literally send a blank contract to people for them to have the opportunity to read it before we sit down and sign anything. And that's important because if they have any questions, they can call me, email me, text me, whatever, and say, hey, section 6, subsection 3, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Uh-oh. I have to ignore that. Must my husband calling me.
Okay.
But I think a lot of times people don't think about exactly what they're asking us to do sometimes either, because when you get that 4-hour photographer, now we got to rush everything to fit it in that 4-hour period to make sure
Right.
he gets all the significant pictures. And then on your wedding day, we're pushing you. We're in a hurry all the time. That's going to drive the client crazy.
Right. Absolutely.
Clients will get an attitude and a heartbeat when you rushing them, but we're rushing you based on your poor choice for the time frame, and then you didn't talk to your planner or your coordinator about what you want, with the time frame, and really get a clear explanation, nor did you really talk to your photographers. Because listen, not every photographer is going to not tell you that's not enough time, but not every photographer is going to tell you that's not enough time either. So you
Right.
have to really get educated. And then you also have to remember that you are in control of what's going on that day. See, your choices, communication, the choices you make for the packages that you get, all of those things predict the flow of your day. They really do. So if you shorten your time with your photographer, or you have limited time with your planner, or limited time with your whoever, that's going to cause you issues.
Right. I think that's one of those things that, again, asking questions will resolve a lot of issues. I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of clients do not do, customers, clients do not do, is they don't ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll go through with their assumptions, and then with those assumptions is miscommunication, because they're basing everything off of the assumptions of what they
Mm-hmm.
think versus what it is. And that's why I take a little more time to educate my clients on the process, because I don't want there to be a misunderstanding,
Mm-hmm.
which happens. I mean, it happens every blue moon, where someone misunderstood something, but most of the time it's because they didn't pay attention to the contract, or they
Mm-hmm.
didn't pay attention to the presentation, or they forgot everything that was in the presentation. Um,
Which how can we improve on that if we're given the information, and if we're educating them on the process, and we're giving them literal visual presentations and black and white contracts, paperwork, what can we do to fix their lack of communication? There's really, how much control do we have over that?
we
Because
don't actually.
literally,
We only can control what we know. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah, it's like if the client doesn't bring it to our attention, then there's not much we can do about it. And
There
then
you
most of
go.
the time, the way we find out is we find out either the day of, which in most cases is too late. Yeah, there's been numerous times where clients will think, "Oh, I heard this where these horror stories where a client want to make a surprise or do a surprise, but don't tell any of the vendors what's going on." So they think the surprise is gonna go over good, but if the vendors don't know or they're not prepared for it, then that surprise now becomes a big mistake.
Let me say this. Years ago, a few years ago, I did a wedding, and my groom wanted to surprise my bride, right? And but all the vendors, like, what you don't understand is when one, let's say it's a bride and groom, when the groom came to me with a surprise idea, which I had to actually facilitate, um, I informed the other vendors and said, "Do not say anything to the bride." You know what
Right,
I'm saying?
right, absolutely,
Because I needed everybody to know what was going on, because there were certain things the DJ service had to do to support this surprise, which was actually a person. It was a celebrity that was coming to sing, and so the DJ service had to do something with that. Make sure they had extra mics. The facility needed to know, because I had to house him, and it's like a lot of pieces to the puzzle. So when you don't share stuff like that with at least your planner or coordinator, then, or even your decorator, I don't know, but somebody needs to know what's
right,
going on, and it really should be a group email, a group chat, or something between you and your vendor saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing, da 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 da," so that people know what's going on, so we know how to prepare for that,
right,
no matter what it is. If you got a surprise of dancers coming in, I don't know, whatever. But we should know about these things, because what you fail to understand, or what clients fail to understand, is that it becomes a part of what we're doing, and we have to incorporate it into the day.
right,
And we want to make sure that you have what you want, but you also have to make sure that we have the information to go with
absolutely. And I think
communication.
and I think that's one of the biggest things is like say for example, if the DJ is part of that, let's say that surprise, and he or she doesn't have that music,
Mm,
then you're again, like, for some reason, and I don't know why, but for some reason people think that it's easy for DJs just to like snap their finger and music will appear. It
Without
doesn't work
cuss
that
words?
right.
No.
Well, I mean that, and I think that's the problem is that there's a lot more that goes to it. Just because, and this is the bad assumption is they can go on their cell phone and pull up the song
Hmm.
and think nothing of it. But for a DJ, there's a lot more behind just pulling up a song.
True.
Number one, we have to make sure that we have the right version of the song. Number
Hmm.
two, we have to download it into our system. Um, Online music means nothing to us if we can't get it into work in our DJ system.
And here's
So
the thing. Think about this also, sidebar, not to interrupt, I'm sorry. At the venues, you and I both have run into problems with getting Wi-Fi.
absolutely. I
So you
mean,
can't do
even
it
if
the
you
day
had to,
of sometimes.
even if you have your own Wi-Fi device, which a lot of
Hmm.
DJs now we do have our own Wi-Fi device, it still takes time to download the music and to have it available. Now, again, if they're using like the new thing now is called Stems. Stems is pretty much online music,
Hmm.
streaming music that we are actually able to use into our system.
Hmm.
Not everybody uses that. That
True.
is an actual fee or something that you had to pay for. So most DJs, some DJs are not doing that. So you can't make an assumption that all DJs have quick access to music. That's
Yep.
always the number one assumption that people make about DJs is that we have access to the music and get to it as quickly as possible. But it doesn't work that way.
Hmm.
Now, some people, like I said, some of us we do have systems in place where we can access the music and play it. But if it's something particular, um, it might take a second. It might
Hmm.
take a moment. I'm not going to go to YouTube and play a song off of YouTube without scanning the song first. You, in some cases, you have
That's
commercials.
so.
You have commercials in the music, and so
Hmm.
that's why I tell people all the time is that 14 days prior. When I say 14 days prior, that's what it means. 14 days prior, giving me stuff at the last minute. Don't get me wrong, I have done it numerous times, but
Hmm.
just because I'm able to do it doesn't mean I'll be able to do it all the
Every
time.
time.
Right.
Hmm.
And so
That's true.
that's the thing that people have to understand is that there is a reason why. Like if the caterer says the cutoff is 30 days prior, okay, there's a reason. It takes time to order the food for your event.
Hmm.
It's not like you're going to Food Line or Piggly Wiggly to pick up the food.
If you say Piggly
I
Wiggly,
mean, yeah, I mean that's what people do. It's like, oh yeah, they just go pick up the food from wherever. No, it
no.
doesn't work that way, especially in certain remote locations.
I
So
mean, over half the caterers we know have to literally order their stuff in.
right, they have to order the food by case, especially the meat products.
Oh
It's a
yes.
special order. So they have to order in the cases. So you can't wait until the day before and say, okay, we want this. No, it doesn't work that way. And then what hurts, like, and what and a lot of people don't understand what the food manager, the actual price is based on case. Sometimes, let's say if you have, and I was explaining this to somebody before, if you have a case of, let's say you have 50 guests, right? And that 50 guests, but in the case, it comes to 24, like you only get 24 pieces of meat in the case, right? So that's what, two cases is 48. So they have to purchase a
A
third
third one.
case just for those two additional people.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not buying two cases. You have to buy three cases just because of the number.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things are not like as simple as people think it is. And if you don't understand what goes on behind it, like most of the time the actual vendors are giving you information up front
Mm-hmm.
to prevent it costing you more money.
True. True.
But when people do not pay attention to that, they make back assumptions about it, then that's where they find themselves paying extra money. Can't make up your mind. I mean, when it comes to food, it's like you do your RSVPs and you get your final count 30 days prior to the event. You try to do it 30 days prior because now unless the caterer is able to meet a 2 week requirement, which is very rare. So again, it also depends on your menu too, because if you're ordering, like for example, if you're ordering salmon for your event, salmon this season is off season for salmon.
Mhm.
So that's a special order. And when
Mhm.
you have to get a special order, that's going to cost you more money.
Mhm.
So most of the time, the vendors, the caterers, they kind of break down this information
Mhm.
so they understand. So some people understand what's going on. But again, communication is like it's critical. It's so critical. And the biggest part I can stress to some of these customers, clients, they got to stop making bad assumptions. They really got to stop making bad assumptions. If you
Yeah,
don't
ask
know,
the
ask
questions. Ask
questions.
the questions. Yeah, if you have like okay, Mario, I'm hiring you for an event for a birthday party. No, no, for a vow renewal. And I want that song, back that thing up.
Uh huh.
And I want what's the new song? I want WAP, that Cardi B song that we don't listen to.
Right.
It's the only thing. I was trying to think of a song with bad lyrics or you know
Right. Right.
nasty
Right.
lyrics or whatever. All right, so I'm hiring you for this event. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. If I don't talk to you for the next 3 months and my event is in August, wouldn't that kind of concern you a little bit?
Oh, it would.
Because you haven't heard anything from me.
Well, see, well, for a DJ, I'm be honest. Like for example, for me, 14 days prior, I mean, I can go that 3 months and don't hear anything from you, but 14 days prior, normally once I get within 30 days, and if I haven't heard nothing, then I'm gonna reach out to the customer, the client.
Okay. And
But
then you reach
normally,
out to me and I don't respond, then what?
oh, then I just sit back and wait till 14 days prior, and then 14 days prior, at that point, if you don't reach, if I can't reach out or talk to you within 14 days prior, and I've tried to email you, text you, call you, then what's going to happen is I can easily cancel your event because based off
Mm-hmm.
my contract, 14 days prior, you have to make your final payment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't make your final payment, and if you don't communicate, you don't say anything to me, then I can just cancel your event and walk away from you. And that's what people have to understand is because like me,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I will not do is put myself in a situation where I'm going to be killing myself or jumping through hoops to do something because someone failed to communicate with me.
There we go.
The biggest piece to me is when you fail to meet the obligation in the contract.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, I can now cancel your event and walk away from it
There you go.
because 14 days prior, I don't hear from you, I don't see nothing, you don't make your final payment, then your event is canceled. And that's just how I mean, I don't. My philosophy is this: we are all grown adults. I should not have to chase behind a grown adult
Mm-hmm.
to meet your obligation.
There you go.
Shouldn't have to do it. And I'm not going to do it because at that point in time, if you haven't reached out to me or talked to me, that means either your event is going to be canceled or it must not be important to you.
Okay.
So hey, your event is canceled. I'm gonna keep it moving. It's nothing personal. It's just business.
That's correct. I got you. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I've noticed too, when we have those cutoff dates, 30 days out, 14 days out, people are scrambling to get information to you. Like, um, we do custom place cards and acrylics. And I always tell people, if you want them for your event, whether they're in your package or not, but you want those for your event, I need all the names 30 days out because it takes 2 days just to cut those out.
Right.
Depending, and it might take three depending on the number of people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be 2 weeks out before the event. Listen, your wedding date is June something, June 5th or something. I'm just gonna pick a date. Do you not realize that April, May, June, July, August, September are the busiest months of the year, which probably means I have events prior to your event and after your event that I am, remember what I said earlier, prepping for, getting ready for. I,
Mm-hmm.
I have to set aside time to do those things. And if we're
Hmm.
within 14 days on my end, I may or may not be able to get them done. Because now you're
Absolutely.
putting stress on me.
Right. And
I'm
that's what
taking the
sometimes.
Tuesday and Wednesday before my weekend event to do your stuff because you waited to the last minute and I couldn't really plan properly. So whatever I had planned for that Tuesday and Wednesday now has to be moved to that Thursday, and I have an event Friday and Saturday. Are you kidding me? Where's the respect or the even the valuing of my work or my
Absolutely.
time?
Absolutely. And I think that's the, and I believe that is the, that's when we prioritize our clients.
Mhm.
Clients that do the right thing, and then clients that don't do the right thing.
Mhm.
Clients that do the right thing, we're going to go on. We're going to go all the way in to take care of them. Clients that don't want to do the right thing, we deal with them as stuff start to come in. And I
Mhm.
think that's just how it is. And I think that's where people have to understand is that that bad assumption that is not that critical, or like what a lot of people, what kills me the most is I've learned that in this business, there's a lot of procrastinators.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people. I did not know it was that bad until I got into this business and realized that a lot of people procrastinate. They will wait to the last minute to do something if you allow them to. And I think that is something that I've learned that if you don't, as a vendor, if you don't communicate properly to your customer up front that
Mhm.
this is something that you need at such and such time, then hey, it's like you're gonna find yourself like jumping
Short.
through hoops at the last
Mhm.
minute. And that's something that I chose like this year. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to sit back and jump through hoops at the last minute. It's like if it's something small and simple, I don't make a big deal about it. But let's say if I have none of your music at all, and we're 2 days out from your event,
Mhm.
then most likely your event is going to be messed up because you didn't provide me the stuff I needed.
Like if you look behind me, look, you see, let me see if I can move out. You see those two tubs right there?
Uh huh.
That's for an event. See those balloons over there?
Uh-huh.
That's for an event. This is for this weekend. If you can see the other side of that wall right there, there are 4 foot letters or numbers over there. There's a balloon. There's two balloon boxes. There's a lot of stuff ready. And I did those balloons last night. Like after dinner and all that, I was sitting here blowing the balloons.
Uh-huh.
And you told me they look like grapes anyway, but but that's part of the prep. Like those balloon garlands that we do, unless you have 6 hours for me to blow up balloons, I got to do all that stuff in advance.
Right. And
I
see that's
can't come
why
and start blowing the balloons when I get there.
I said it's different for decorators, like for DJs and decorators, it's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Time management is completely different because there's a different requirement.
Mm-hmm.
For us is music because in most cases we're going to have all most of the music. Like for decorators, it might be the same, but guess what? It takes time to prep what y'all do. Music is not. It doesn't take as much time, but it's
But
like
you
it's
still have
still.
to have it.
But you still have to have that time to do
Yeah.
it, and that's what people have to understand is that it's not
Mm-hmm.
as is like all they see is because they can go online and pull up on YouTube. They think it's something that anyone can do.
But that's commercials. That's always most of the time it's unedited versions of the song. And if that's what you want at your event, that's something we got to talk about. But I'm just saying, like, it's totally different. Entertainment value for YouTube, when you're doing your exercise or you're walking or you're in your car or you're in your house, you want to hear certain things, that's fine. But for events, you got to consider the attendees. You got to consider what type of event it is, especially if it's a wedding. There's so many different aspects, and the thing is, if you don't, people don't like to look like they don't know something. Listen, I'm a special needs mother, and I literally would tell my sons, if you don't know what it is, ask a
Ask
question.
questions. Yeah.
Ask a question. If I say a word in front of them that they don't understand, I always say, tap me like, mommy, what does that mean? And I'll explain it to you. Heck, me and Jackson look up stuff all the time. He reads books and he'll come across words and he write them down, and we go through that. So listen, it doesn't make anybody look stupid to ask a question. Just ask,
Right.
because your real vendors are going to want to help you. They're going to want to educate you because we don't want you going into situations that are you're going in there blinded. We don't want that for you. We want your event to be successful. We want it to be exciting. We want it to be fun. We want it to be the things that you want it to be. But you have to communicate with us.
Right.
We can know how to help you. That's it. Like prime example, Mario and I just talked about this yesterday. I had a person reach out to me 2 week 2 weeks ago and a day, 15 days ago, to do an event for a school. I sent her the quote, sent her everything she needed, not a word. So I literally had to call the school on Monday to verify they still need our services. Now, was her stuff prepped? Yes. I already prepped everything she asked me for because I needed to get it ready.
Right.
Covers, tablecloths, chair bands, some centerpieces. Everything is already packed and ready to go. I didn't find out till Monday at evening after 5 o'clock. Oh, well, a parent donated X, Y, and Z. Then why not? This is a grown woman. And I'm saying to her, you could have at least called me. Or, because mind you, I've called her, I've texted her, I've emailed her over the 2 weeks, really over the last week and a half, and never heard a single word back from her. And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna go a little bit further. She told me that they were on spring break from the school. How would I know that? I don't work there. Like if I'm texting you, respond. Let me know what's going on. And
Right.
I just felt like that was so inconsiderate, so rude, so disrespectful. And you wait till the week of to say, "Oh, we're doing this." When you found out, you should have texted me then because you was on vacation last week, but you found out sometime last week about this stuff because it was on Monday.
Right. And see, most of the time now, what I like, this is what I do. If I don't hear back from the client, I automatically assume they don't need my services. And I mean, because if I have no contract, I have nothing in paper put on black and white, then guess
Mm-hmm.
what? Okay. I'm gonna treat like okay. I gave them opportunity. I gave them a presentation. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have a contract. Don't have a commitment. Don't have a
Mm-hmm.
deposit. Okay, they don't want the date, and I give them normally after I communicate with them, I give them 7 days. After 7 days, it's cut. It cut
Mm-hmm.
sling and move on. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to do that because now people are not going to communicate. If they found somebody else or some other service, I've learned that in 10 years I've been in business. They'll find another vendor and won't even call the other vendor that they have talked to. So I've learned that you have to cut sling. You have to automatically cut. And what happens
Mm-hmm.
is, oh, well, you never did communicate with me. And I have no pity for anyone because you're a grown adult.
And we can't read minds.
We definitely can't read no minds. We don't have no crystal ball to figure it out. So again, it goes back to where, like we can just like another situation is there is a proper method on how to send an email. If you don't put a title on your email, what happens to it?
9 times out of 10, it gets deleted or goes to spam.
It goes to so then if it goes to spam and I can't understand, like I don't see a title, I don't know who it's coming from, I don't know what the subject is. So then guess what? It gets deleted.
And how many of us really check our spam on a regular?
I do,
I
but I
don't.
mean, I do because sometimes, again, people don't know how to do proper email. So I go back and I'll check it because it happens quite a bit. Somebody will just be on their phone, they send an email from their phone, and they don't put a subject line on there. So it depends on your filter. Like my filter, if there's no subject line, it goes to my junk file. So, and then if it's something to where it looks like spam, I'm not gonna open it. I don't
No.
care whose name is on it. I'm not gonna open it. So people have to take time and stop taking so many shortcuts. It's just like I have to, and this is one of the things that I tell people. Okay, text messaging is the worstest method of communicating with your vendors. Period. If
Especially
you
if I'm
send
your vendor because I go through phones like crazy.
right, so like, but my thing is like it's a difference to where if a situation that requires text messaging, then it's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you're text messaging me pictures to upload for your video presentation,
Why don't you
it
just email
it
it?
it gives me no justification. I have to turn around and still I got to download the picture from the text message, upload it to the email, and then submit it to me. So
Mm-hmm.
text
So then we got to
messaging,
do all the steps and submit it to ourselves. I've had
right?
to do that too.
It's like, and I had to tell people. And then the thing is that if we're busy, a lot of us are busy. We're not going to be able to catch. We can always go back and preview emails,
Hmm.
but text messages you can't. No text. Hey, Wanda. So it's like people have to understand text messaging is the worst method of communication with your vendors.
It is.
Because an email can easily be pulled up and looked at. And then normally what I do is when I get to 14 days, I go to my contract, I pull up the email address of that person,
Hmm.
and I go in, I do a search for all emails dealing with that thing. So then I go back and review
Hmm.
everything I need to for that event. I can't do that if it's been sent as a text message.
There's no way.
There's no
There's
way.
just no way.
So that's why I tell people the proper way to communicate is to send an email. If there's something going on, like I had someone, I was in Augusta, Georgia, um, and they were making changes to their venue. Okay, um, I'm glad you called me. I know about it, but I'm on Highway I-20 now, and I can't get to anything because I'm traveling.
Hmm.
So I asked them to send me email. They sent me an email. Bam, I could easily go back and review it and see what's going on, what's taking place, and make a change to their contract. Those are
I mean,
things
I
that,
think about that because you got a strange number that's calling you or texting you. If you don't open it, I mean, I try to be funny, but there's scammers that are texting us these days, trying to get us to click on links and
absolutely.
stuff like that. So a lot of times, if it's a number I'm not familiar with, it might just get deleted.
And what this is the part that's funny to me is when you get a text message and they're saying something, but they won't identify who they are.
Their name,
No
like, don't assume I
name,
saved your number, boo boo.
like
I got enough numbers in my phone.
exactly. If I had to put a name for every phone number,
Oh dear Jesus.
no, we don't do that. That's like vendors do not. I'm gonna go ahead and let out. Vendors do not put people's names. They don't tag their phone numbers. We don't do that.
We
That's
don't
just
normally we don't have the time for one, but
right. And
two, we already have enough names and numbers in our phones. We really don't keep your stuff. So if you don't identify, like that's why if you text me, I literally will text you back by your name because they do it so often where
right,
they'll just randomly text you or whatever. So I use your name when I respond. And if it's the initial text or whatever, so that if I'll see it text you again, I have to scroll up and see who the heck is this? And I'll go back through the past messages and see who it was. But honestly, if you text a vendor, remember you're not their only client. Now, unless you're spending $150,000 with just me, you're not paying my bills for the whole year. So I need you to understand we all have multiple clients at any given time. You have got to communicate better.
right.
And that includes putting your name on a message,
Or like name, subject, everything.
the
Because
date.
I get it. Because where a person will send me a text message, and I'll be in the middle of DJing. I won't see that text message. I won't see that text message until I actually take time to. I am not the best. I do not. I'm a tech person, but I hate text messaging.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not big on text messaging. I'm not a texter. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of those things. The communication. It's in my contract. The best way to make contact with me is to call me or to email me.
Mm-hmm.
When you take it upon yourself to make your own rules up, then your own rules will get you in a bad situation.
That's right.
So again, it's like understand the boundaries of what your vendors are putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
If they say that the best way to communicate with them is by email or telephone, do that. Sending them a random text message, it means nothing. I mean, I
True.
tell people all the time is I'm real bad when it comes to text messaging. Is I'll see something and I will disregard it because if I don't understand who it is or what it's about, I'll respond back. First thing I'm going to say is, "Who is this?"
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to tell me who it is, and I'm going to say, "Okay," and then I'm going to go from there. But most of the time, we're not. Text messaging is the worst way to communicate. Text messaging is the worst way to do business.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who like to text message, okay, guess what? You text message. That's a
But
breakdown.
you text your friends.
Right. You don't
You really
text
shouldn't
me.
text people that you're hiring for something.
Right.
You don't like. Do you text your job? Do y'all text at your job? Because most people have to email. or straight communicate with each other at work. Think of us the same way. We're working. So you need to communicate with us on that level. Emails are always great because they give you written documentation of what you asked for. It's a checks and balances thing for me.
Right.
And texting is horrible for me because I go through phones like crazy.
Absolutely.
And whatever text you might have sent on Tuesday, it might be gone by the next Friday because I might have messed up my phone.
And
Not
I
that I
think
drop it, but other things happen with my phones. But I go through phones like crazy. Everybody that know me knows me. Every 3 to 6 months, I'm getting another phone. Not because I want another phone, but because the phone I had stopped working, it started not wanting to turn on, or won't turn
right.
off, or the screen goes blank, or it drops call. Something always happens. It's technology, you know. So I don't always have the same phone. So again, I could probably lose your text messages. But email actually gives you that security, you know what I'm saying? And then I can respond. And normally, if I send an email, I'm looking for you to respond to it, to let me know that you received it. You know, I always say confirm, please confirm receipt of this
Right.
email. You know what I'm saying?
So
But
that's why it's communication. It's so critical, and I guess they have to understand that they're making it convenient for them. Makes it means nothing to us, and I think
Mhm.
that's where the breakdown comes down to is, people are not taking time. Like one of the things I stress to people is don't put yourself in a bad position. One of the things that I'm going to say this because I've seen it happen too many times. If
Mhm.
you are getting married, if you are having a event, do not work up to that date.
Explain that.
Is you'll have a person that's getting married on a Saturday and they'll work all the way up until that Friday.
Yeah, that happens quite a
They
bit.
don't take off time from work.
So then
And
they're in a rush, or they're
what
late for
happens
stuff.
that week prior to your event? And I mean, I'm not even gonna talk about wedding. I'm talking about just saying things in general. That is the most mass communication time is the week prior.
Mhm.
And so when you're not able to communicate not only with your vendor but with your guests,
Mm.
it causes a nightmare. So I stress to people like if you're getting married, just for your your sanity, take some time off. Take 3 days off. You don't have to take the whole week off. I recommend that you do, but if you can't afford it, that's different. I get it, but you need to take some time off before your event. And what people do it, they'll do it to themselves every single time. Is they'll work all the way up until the day of their event, and they put themselves in a bad bind because the communication they can't communicate with people because they're still at work.
Mhm. Mhm. That
And this is
happens
the
too.
time where a lot of vendors are we try to get stuff knocked out prior to that time, that red zone,
Mhm.
but that red zone now becomes a major communication flow
Nightmare.
of information. And if you're not available to receive and kick it back to provide feedback, it causes a nightmare for your event.
Mhm. It does.
So I stress to people don't do it to yourself.
And don't do it to us if you don't mind.
I mean, well,
Shoot,
see,
we work
for
hard
us,
enough. We don't
I'll be
need the
honest with you.
extra.
For us, it's going to be one of those things to where our hands are tied. There's nothing we can do. But
Hmm.
it's like for them, it's like your success of your event is going to be based on how well you communicate.
That's correct. Very correct. I love it. So it
Oh,
was something else that we said we were going to bring up today. I can't remember what it was now.
I think that was the biggest piece was just
Okay,
communication. I know that was one of the big pieces. Is just taking time to communicate. I mean,
got you.
assumptions and communications is I mean, that's what causes a lot of mishaps.
Yeah, those are the Michael Myers of our lives. The
Right.
killer on the loose, I swear.
But I think I hit all I was going to cover. What about you, Tish?
I think so. I think I got everything out there about that. I just wanted to Make sure we didn't forget anything this week because next week is going to be even more in depth about a few things. So,
Yes, this one was
um,
just more of it's something that's well overdue because now we're about to kick it into high gear.
mm-hmm.
April 1st because it's gonna kick in. That's like the real like March is like the pre strike, and then April is the major strike.
There you go.
That spring kicks in, and then this is the high volume of customers trying to book events and stuff for the rest of the year or for the following year.
Yep. I'm already out to 2025. I'm just like, Lord have mercy. But so today I want you guys to take this with you. Um, be considerate of the people that you're hiring. Be considerate of the people that are working hard to bring your event to life. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Text messages are not always the best way. You can text me and say, "Hey, how you doing today?" But if it's something important,
I'll be right back. Go ahead,
email
keep going, keep going.
it, email it, call, or something. But always remember to communicate. Communicate with your venue, your vendors, and also make sure if you have any questions about anything, call us and ask us. Because even though I'm not a photographer or I'm not a caterer or I'm not a um, DJ, I could probably give you some information that would help you. And if I don't know it, I will direct you to the one that can help you with it better than I can. But just keep that in mind as we're going through things because it makes it very difficult for us to fulfill our end of the bargain, so to speak, when you're not communicating with us and when you're not giving us all the information that we need to make sure that your day is successful because that's the end game. We want it to be successful. We want you to be happy, but you have to work with us and talk to us about these things. Oh, Mario. Okay, I don't know where he is. So, does anybody have any questions they want to post up? I see. Hey, Wanda and Vanessa. I see comments from you guys. Is there anybody else has any questions or anything before we get off today? This is your time. This is your moment. Jump in
All right,
there.
I'm back.
Okay. I was like, this is your time. This is your moment. Jump in with any questions.
Yeah, but that's I think that like I said, overall, communicate, talk to
That's
us,
it.
ask questions.
That's it.
Don't be shy. We won't bite.
You're welcome, Miss Wanda.
All right. Well, that's it. We'll see.
Okay.
Like I said, we were off a day. We normally do it on Wednesdays, but we're
All
off a day
right.
because we both were busy yesterday. So we're always gonna try to squeeze it in someday. We're always gonna do it at least once a week. If we can't do it on
Mhm.
the day we have it on, we're gonna do it on another day.
That's correct. We should be back next Wednesday because I think my schedule is clear for next Wednesday now. What's yours?
Mine, it probably would be, but it'll probably be a little bit later. I might have
Okay.
a well, I might be back in time. Um, my son has a dental appointment, so
Gotcha. Because you got to remember also, we're vendors, we are business owners, but we're also family members too.
yeah,
Wives, husbands, we are parents, some of us are grandparents now, Lord Jesus. But we have our lives too. So we do our best for you, but we also do our best for our family too.
absolutely.
Okay. Good. Communicate. You guys have a great remainder of the week and have a wonderful weekend.
All right. Hey, look, enjoy this weather because one minute it's good, next minute it's bad, like a
I
roller
know
coaster
rain
ride.
is coming on Saturday, so be careful. Get your raincoats and your rain
There
hats.
there you go.
Okay. Y'all have a
All right.
great week.
All right, y'all take it easy.
Bye.